Hey, good evening, everybody. We got some fun planned tonight, and I've got a co-host, at least for the start of the show, Mr. Kazra Gambari. Welcome to the show, Kazra.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Everyone's concerned about your chickens. I was too. And it seems like your chickens did a better job of scaring the bear off than you would have. That rooster.
Yeah, that is quite true. I probably would have soiled myself and got back in the car and probably called for 911 or something.
We might find out that bear is going to come back. I put the odds at what? Yeah, the odds are high.
Yeah, very high. Cat's out there right now.
Are you already looking left and right every time you leave your office?
I do. Absolutely. Well, every time I forget, I get a little nervous. Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't look both ways before I stepped out the back door. Now, it is what it is. But yeah, it's a new mascot here at CAF HQ, and we've got several of them now. But now we have a bear. We'll give the chat we can do a naming kind of game on Thursday during the CAF update. But tonight we have a gentleman who's been on CAF for quite some time that probably a lot of people aren't familiar with. And if you were to try to judge them by the contents of their CAF galleries, you would not have a clue at the breadth of this gentleman's collection. So without further ado, he's putting down his drink of choice. We'll bring Mr. Mike Broder in. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Bill. Kazra.
It's good to have you on the show and to see you again. Have you recovered from the weekend in Orlando?
I have. It's been a whole, 3 days since I've seen you?
Yeah, if that. Yeah.
Is that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday,
it's Sunday. It's like just 2 days.
Yeah, it all blurs together. And now I'm here, but I got to get on a plane in the morning to go to San Jose.
Never a dull moment. When is the first day of that show on Friday?
Yeah, it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
All right. So Mike, we got to hang out a little bit on Sundays. This is kind of a continuation of that, and it was a lot of fun getting to learn a little bit about you there. But tonight we get to do the deep dive on not only your time in the industry, which is not just a couple of years. So you've been involved in comics with stores and with shows, and as a collector for a very long time. So honestly, I'm not even sure where to start. We usually dive into the origin story side of things with collectors, because it's kind of in most cases it's a singular path to get to collecting original art. But I have a feeling you have a bit more of a diverse kind of path to getting to the point where you're at right now.
When I'm a kid in Brooklyn, and my mom, my grandmother would bring me. My grandmother would give me comics. So I'm 50, born in '74. At the end, December. So I'm, late 70s, 78, 79, getting those kind of Whitman sampler packs, the Buck Rogers, the Tom and Jerry's, the Looney Tunes stuff. The oldest comic I can remember is this Action Comics Superman's with the Supermobile, which, probably came in one of those packs. And, so that's I'm not saying it's the first superhero comic I had. It's the oldest one I remember. And then started reading comics, getting them off the newsstand at the train station, which was on Lake Avenue and East 16th Street in Brooklyn. And they had this massive, newsstand like they had in the old days, and there were comics. And then by the time I'm 7, 8, there was a local bookstore around the corner, Bob's Bookstore. And he was selling, it's not just books, paperbacks, but he started selling comics, like, a lot of book dealers did. And then I was getting comics from him and his wife, and then I was also getting the stuff off the newsstand, and then that's how we kind of start reading comics. And then that's you get into the Black Suit Spider-Man. Like I remember, very much being in the store that week and wanting a copy, but of course it's New York and there's none, so paying I think $5 on the weekend to get a copy of that. And that's how we get into comics. The comic art thing is, I started going to conventions with the Creation Cons in New York when I was 9. They were kind of like a mix of sci-fi, Star Trek, and comics, right? So you'd have your comic creators, and then you'd have your, DeForest Kelley. And then I wasn't aware of what comic art really was, that it was a thing. I mean, I'm sure I'd seen it. And then I moved to Florida when I was 13. And when I was in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, there were a lot of like these, small comic shows that would happen. And I remember specifically one where John Beatty was a guest at one of the shows. And John was, his gimmick was that he would print at home photocopy reproductions of original art at original art size. So, all the stuff that he did with Zach, really, those covers, you could buy for $1, get a photocopy of the original art. And I just thought that was the coolest thing, that you could have, the original art or a facsimile thereof. And it was $1 and he signed it. And then we're off to the races. And I was probably 13, 14 at the time. And that was really, and then, it starts with convention sketches, right? And I think that's, where I started. And I never really, you guys all know Quan. So,
yeah,
I knew Quan. There's a group of us from South Florida that are kind of still in the industry. So there's Quan, there's Mark Haspel, from CGC, Jan Jones, who was editor at DC. She's working with us now as creator talent director, and Georges Genti, who's a comic artist. We're all kind of in this, came from here. George Belliard, who I worked with in a comic store when I was a teenager, who went on to be talent relations at Marvel. So I remember Quan running around getting artwork really early, like in the 90s. And so going to Dragon Con, and there's Quan running around buying artwork. And I would get a sketch here and there, but I wasn't really an original art guy at the time. I was more of just a comic guy. Like I was just collecting books. And then as, time goes on, I really started getting heavy into collecting art when I started SuperCon in 06. So when I started SuperCon in 06 in Florida SuperCon in South Florida, artists would, give me, what do you want? A sketch of who? So I'd get sketches, and then I started picking up pages, and then we go from there. I don't know if that explains the origin.
It does. Now, but you mentioned to me in text earlier that Scott Hampton's piece was the first one they ever picked up. Was that a convention sketch, or was that something that they had pre-done before the show?
So I got it. I was working for a local comic store chain, Tropic Comics, in Fort Lauderdale, and the owner, John Krasinski, and he had that piece, and John had a bunch of original art, and I just loved that. I love that piece. I love Scott Hampton, and I was like, and then he wanted. I'd gone to a. We did trades. Like I think that he wanted some stuff that I had that I'd gotten at like not a thrift store, but at a garage selling. And so there was there's some things he wanted, and I think we traded for it. It was, like $75, trade or something at the time. And this would have been, mid like 95, 94, 95. And so that's the oldest piece that I have in my collection. There's a lot of other stuff that I had gotten along the way. It's just, either sold or lost to history, but I held on to that. There's an Adam Hughes sketch that he did at one of the store appearances around 96, 95, 96. Also, I sent you earlier. That's not in my CAF, but it exists.
That's one of the photos you sent?
Yeah, it's that Supergirl by Adam Hughes, the sketch.
We may get to that one tonight. You sent a lot of photos, but we'll see what we can get through. So I assume you didn't save any of the John Beatty photocopies that he signed?
No, they disintegrate. Because they're on such lousy paper. And John and I talked about this, and he will tell you, be the first one to tell you that it just, the paper that he was printing on at the time, who knew? And it was not meant to last.
Well, that's probably good because there's, Linsner did something similar, and his stuff still floats around and winds up on eBay. But he did prints of old stuff, and it gets passed off as originals. So there's always kind of goofy confusion out there sometimes on the auction sites. Oh, Ian says he's going to GalaxyCon this weekend. Awesome.
Got one.
Got one. And Mike, we didn't get to say, but if you click on the right-hand side of your screen, if you click comments, you can see the comment stream. So,
no, you don't want to do that.
If you're not being heckled yet or anything like that. But James Siegel, yeah, that's true. And I can tell you, Mike, for same thing for me. The Creation Cons were the first shows that I ever went to. They had one in Cleveland, and they were just like you described. They were sci-fi and comic shows. Seemed like sci-fi a little bit heavier than comics, but it did have a room full of comic dealers, so that was a good place to get your start.
Did you know Mike Carbonaro back then? Like way back?
I knew Mike in the 90s. So I met before we get
was he ever sane? Like at any point in his life? Was he normal? No,
absolutely not.
I was curious.
I don't believe that hair. No. So Creation, like Gary Berman, Creation was founded by Gary Berman and Allan Bellman, and in the early 70s, Gary and I were texting with each other earlier this morning. So they just had their big Star Trek Vegas show the same week when we were in Orlando with our Animate show. So, but we become very close friends, and I respect the hell out of those guys. They went in a different direction. They started out with this kind of multi-genre approach, but then as time went on, they kind of drifted away. They were teenagers, and they both were into comics also, but then they kind of got really heavy into Star Trek, and now they do like the Star Trek shows, the supernatural shows, but their roots were in this stuff. And then Carbonaro, I don't remember the first time I remember knowing Carbonaro was in the late 90s when he was doing those shows in the church,
right,
in New York, by Hell's Kitchen. So I don't know if you ever went to any of those. I was
right after the church. I went to the Penn Hotel shows in 2004 or 5, maybe around then I started.
Yeah. So in the 90s, he was doing shows in the basement of the church, and I had moved back to New York in the late 90s because I did independent film distribution, and I lived 52nd and 9th, so I was a couple blocks away. And then he moved it to the Penn, and I went to a couple of those.
Never went to any of those.
Yeah, it's
hard to say.
They were fun. I mean, they were comic shows. It was all the New York guys, and it's and no, I've never known Carbonaro to be sane.
Yeah. They
His
were
hair
fun.
color changes more than mine. To this day. But now you've owned a comic shop. It sounded like for not a very long time, right? And you worked at a comic shop before that.
I worked for a guy named Glenn Lightfoot down here in South Florida for a little while, and he had a chain called Superheroes Unlimited. That's where I worked with George Belliard, and he ended up managing one of the stores. I ended up managing one of the others, and Glenn was really big on bringing in talent to do signings. So Mignola came through, and Dave Sim and Quesada and Palmiotti came through a bunch of times around the Batman 500 Ash 1 period, and that's where George and Quesada became very friendly, and which led to him going up to New York with him. And then I opened up my own store somewhere in the early 94-ish, 93-ish, 94-ish, and that was like 2 years, and then it was like the boom and the bust. And just you just watch as people were buying, less and less people were coming in all the stores. And I think you kind of saw in that mid to late 90s where it moved out away from that light. And in the mid to late 90s,
the background noise stopped.
Did it?
Yeah.
All right. So good. So mid to late 90s, you saw a lot of the stores dropping out. That's when Marvel goes bankrupt. You see there were a lot less readers, and your print runs go down, significantly. So, I closed the store, and then I was working with John at Tropic. That's where I know Haspel from. Haspel and I both learned how to grade books from John, and did that for a couple years, and then got into production, lighting, sound, stagehand stuff, then some commercial work, and ended up, like I said, in New York doing indie film distribution. Did that for a while, and then when that came to a conclusion, and in 06, I started SuperCon, for SuperCon, which was my first show, Hollywood, Florida, and old kind of mall that should have been demolished, in Ocean Walk in Hollywood, and we did it mostly in the hallways, and Kazra, you were there.
I was an exhibitor.
That was rough, and I didn't know.
I loved it. I loved it.
I didn't know what I was doing, and I just took a shot, and it worked. 1,500 people came in, and we had Dick Giordano, Pablo Marcus, Georges Genti, Ted McKeever, as we discussed the other day.
The Iron Sheik.
I had the Iron Sheik.
Yeah, Bob McLeod. I got a commission from Bob McLeod there that I still have. Yeah.
But Margot Kidder, Iron Sheik, and Billy West were my 3 headliners.
That's what I was going to add. Margot Kidder was right across from us. I swore that was Margot Kidder, but I didn't know if I was remembering it right.
Yeah, she was insane. Yeah.
She was very twitchy. Yeah.
And there's a story where she just ended up on the beach one night because the hotel was on the beach in Hollywood, and just wandering aimlessly, didn't know where she was. But, whatever she was on, hopefully she's in a better place. But that was the one and only time I did anything with her. And we had a really, decent comic book lineup for the time for, a first time show. I mean, probably like 20 guys, and then just kept doing it. And it just people kept showing up.
Oh, Bob Layton was there too.
Layton was there. Yeah.
Yeah. With Jill at the time, his wife at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
how could I forget that?
I don't know. Kaz, is this the show with the interesting cosplayer?
Yeah. There was a Wolverine with a very, very thin, like bed sheet outfit, not wearing underwear, but we could tell he wasn't circumcised. Yeah.
Jesus.
There was that guy. Yeah.
If you told Mike that at the time, that might have been his last show. But it wasn't your last show, though, Mike, right? We
all have goals. We all. The thing is, the guy was doing it on purpose because his sack was exactly the height of the tables, and he would come up and lean onto the table and lay his sack on top of the table. Oh. And he did it to every table. He went table to table. It might have been Marcus. I mean, Marcus might have been there. Confirm Marcus. He's in the chat. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. We all have origin stories. That one was a wild one.
Yeah. So that was an interesting show. And looking at, I'm trying to see if I can find, I have no idea. I'd have to look, but I'd have to look to see who was there. But, that was the start.
That was the first time I met Dick Giordano in person. That's one of the reasons I remember it. That and Iron Sheik was amazing. Bob was over the top. First time I met McLeod in person. It was a great show, honestly.
Allan Bellman was there.
Right.
Dick Giordano was fantastic. He was great. He was, he was wonderful. He was, and he could be very direct and very, this is what you're doing wrong. But I told you the other day, he couldn't have been more generous. He wanted us to succeed. He, for some reason, took a liking to me, and he said, anything that I wanted, he would open up his Rolodex and make phone calls, and he would tell them, you're going to come to, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and you're not going to make any money, but you're going to have fun. You're going to have a nice, you're going to be treated well, and you should come hang out. And he did that for me a lot. And he, we eventually got it to a point where, there was money in the room. But early on, South Florida's never been the biggest, place for comic art sales or books. But we made a good go of it, and we got people out, and Dick was just immense. She just was so generous, and I love that man, and and a lot of the guys that have passed, a lot of the legends were really generous. Dick, Neil Adams was amazing with me, and again, another guy who would tell you everything you're doing wrong, but he could not have been more. He could not have been better to me. George Perez, who lived in Florida, he lived by the Orlando area, would come down and he did some stuff with us, and he was great. And Keith Giffen, Jim Shooter. I've been blessed that a lot of the guys that I loved growing up, that that are the reason why the shows exist, I was able to bring them to the show, and they were just amazing to me. And they're like anybody else. Everybody's got quirks, and everybody, is who they are. But I got to tell you, when it comes to comics, there's not a whole lot. I don't know that there's anybody who I loved, who I needed to, that hasn't been, wasn't kind or wasn't generous with their time and wasn't, there's a few, right? We can get into that, but Carmine was a little cranky. Right, like he could be tough, but at that time, by the time I had him, he was old.
Yeah. He used to sign autographs as Frankenstein at the shows.
Yeah, and but I would say 99% of the guys and I was never the world's biggest Carmine Infantino fan, so there you go. But I was a big, Jim Shooter fan. I was a big Toddano fan. I was a big, Pablo Marcos fan. Jose Delbo lived down here. He was a gem. Jose Delbo. There's a couple of Buck Rogers pages that I sent you, Bill, from the 78 Buck Rogers book. That when Jose found out that the first comics that I ever got were those Whitman Buck Rogers books, he goes, he's like, oh, okay. And then the next time I saw him, he gave me one of the pages. Because he had worked on those books. And then, over the years, he would find Buck Rogers pages and he would just give them to me. And I'm like, Jose, it's okay. And he goes, no, I want you to have these. Who else is going to, care? And I think I have.
And Jose, who didn't pass that long ago, ended up dying with, interlinked with the history of NFTs.
Yeah.
It's crazy. What a crazy world we live in.
He heard. Yeah, well, that was his grandson is a smart kid, and his grandson was, saw it and said, Grandpa, let's do this. And so he did it. And Jose had no idea what they were doing, but he was like, all right, came along for the ride. And then they did that initial, very early on. Teddy, come on. It's just somebody walking outside. Come here.
We got the same treatment.
Yeah. And he wants to protect me. Come here, buddy. Come here. And
I think he taught at the Cubert school, didn't he, Bill? Remember, Adam was really upset, Cubert, when Jose passed.
Yeah, and then down here he had a cartoon camp where he would do with kids. So kids would go and he would work with kids to, to teach them how to be cartoonists. And I had, the South Florida group, back then, Dick was, in Orlando. Perez was in Orlando. Bob McLeod back then was in Tampa. Down here I had a Bellman. Allan Bellman lived down here, and I, found him. And prior to me grabbing him to the show, he had done one show in the late '90s in Miami that Stan Lee was at, because he called into a radio station. Stan was doing an interview. I think this is '98 or earlier. Earlier. It's earlier. It's early '90s, maybe '92. Sorry, it's got to be like '92. And Stan is doing. I think McFarlane was at that show too, and that's why I know it's earlier. Stan was on the radio, and Allan called in, and he goes, it's an old friend, and then he hadn't seen Stan since 1954, and then Stan remembered him, and they started talking. This has got to be like 92, so 54, 64, 74. So 48 years they hadn't seen each other, and maybe it was 93. And Stan was like, come down to the show, hang out, sit with me. And so Allan went down there, didn't have anything, had been long out of comics, and had been out of comics for 45 years. And, went down and hung out, and then that was it. And then the next time he did a show was MegaCon in Orlando. early 2000s, and he did one show because he'd become friends with Gene Colan, who was living down here, and another wonderful man. And he did one show there and showed up, didn't have anything. Gene had to give him some pens, and then he went back, and that was it. And then a local guy down here was like, Allan Bellman lives, in Waterhill, in Tamarack. And I'm like, I had no idea. Called him up, and I was like, look, you want to do the show? And he was, absolutely. And we met up for lunch, and Allan was so instrumental in that first show, because back then people actually read the newspaper, and the Sun Sentinel down here, the big paper, were the one person they want to interview was Allan, because he'd worked in Captain America in the 40s, a Golden Age guy, and he had worked for the newspaper, at some point in time in his life. So and there was a local story. So we got this huge Sunday piece about the show, which it was one of the main advertising drivers that we had. And then Allan became, almost a grandfather to me. I mean, I never had a grandfather, so Allan's the closest thing I ever had to a grandfather, and we were very close till the day he died, in March of 2020, right just before the lockdown.
Wow.
And you have some, Bill, you'll see some pictures of some of the covers that Allan did for me with that kind of shield that says Allan Bellman, the Captain America shield.
Yeah, those small ones. Yeah, across near the ceiling, I saw those.
And that was the shield that he would bring to shows, as kind of his banner. And again, a man who was so good and so kind and so wonderful, and became almost like the mascot of the show. But he just another wonderful man.
So yeah, I mean, you had ample opportunity to pick up art throughout all of these shows and whatnot. I'm sure you probably never went without something, right?
Well, it started with guys being like, oh, do you want a sketch? And I I don't ask a whole lot from a whole lot of people. I just don't, what am I going to do with it? And even now, like, I don't really get, if anybody's going to do a sketch for me now, I just ask them to do Galaxy Girl and G-Bot, our mascots, so that's why you see a lot of those Galaxy Girl sketches, because how many Magics can I have? How many Supergirls can I have? How many, random characters that, and it's not that I don't love them as artists, but I only have so much wall space. I mean, you saw how tight some of that stuff is. And that I have stuff in my house. I have stuff at the office, in the warehouse, and I got hundreds of pages and covers and sketches that just aren't displayed because I just haven't gotten around to framing them, or there's no place to put them, and so now it starts with convention sketches, or it starts with artists wanting to do things for me as a thank you, and so there's a lot of really great pieces in there that are really amazing, one-off things that I'm really blessed to have. And then I started I'd pick up pages along the way, or artists would have stuff at their table, so I'd buy something, or they'd give it to me as a gift, or they'd give it to me really not that expensive. And then somewhere along the lines I got hooked on Heritage, and I mean, this would have been around 2010, 2011, 2012, 13, 14, okay, when things were still somewhat affordable, and I was able to pick up a bunch of really cool pages that weren't that insane. Like I got a ton of Kurt Swan Superman pages that the random pages, I think at the time I was paying like $350 was like the average on the Swan pages. There's some splash pages that I paid more for, that maybe I paid $1,000, but and I love Kurt Swan. I mean, that's I grew up reading his Superman, so I probably have 50 pages of Swan.
Total. Nice, very nice.
Anyway.
You don't strike me as someone who sold. You bought a piece and that was it. Yeah.
I think there's only one piece that I think I've sold in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And it was a cover, and it was the Justice League #2 cover, the Kevin Maguire cover that I got. I got it. Somehow I got it, and it was like a weird deal that I got it, and it just popped up. And it was somebody that he'd given it to, that had bought it from him in South Florida in the 80s, and it was on my wall. And Barucci wanted it like really
I was
bad.
going to say that sounds like Nick Barucci territory. Yeah.
And Nicky really wanted it really bad, and Spencer Beck kept bugging me. Nick wants it. Nick wants it. Will you sell it to him? Will you sell it to him? And eventually, I was annoyed with Kevin at one point in time about something. And I love Kevin, and I've known Kevin since I was 13. He doesn't remember, but I do. And I met him for the first time when he was doing a signing down here for Justice League 24, the Justice League International, and Kevin is Kevin. He's a character, and I was annoyed with him. This has got to be like 2017 or 18. I was like, the hell with this. I'm gonna sell Nicky the cover, and I sold it to him.
Yeah.
And and I don't regret it. I don't regret, it is what it is. I mean, I can't tell you how many books I had that I sold. So it came and it went. But I think that's, there's a couple other random stupid things maybe I put on eBay that I was like, oh, wow, what is this? But nothing significant.
Yeah. Which means you have an amazing collection now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's good. It's not what some people have. I mean, I see some of the guys who go on, the board, and they've got like, all these, ridiculous pieces. I don't have that many ridiculous pieces. I've got a couple of really cool pieces, my action cover, I have that West Coast Avengers cover, which is, I don't have a lot, but I have what I wanted that I could get at the time, that was in the range, of what I had. And, but a lot of the stuff I have are sentimental or mean something. So like Giffen's first published piece, right? That Deadly Hands of Kung Fu pinup, that walked into a store in Sarasota by a guy who had it, gives it to it's trying to sell it to the guy who had the store. The guy had no idea what it was. He calls up Mark Haspel because Mark had said, if anything cool walks in, call me. Mark sees it, knows it's Giffen, doesn't know what it is because nobody really knew what it was. And so he calls me, he goes, you know everything about Keith, what is it? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember that. And if you go online, he wasn't even credited with that as his first published thing. And so I text Keith and I go, hey man, what is this? And then Keith texts me back. He goes, you never forget your first. And I'm like, what does that mean? And then he called me up and he's like, tells me a story that he did that, and Bob McLeod inked it, and he sold it to Marvel as a pinup in I think 75 or 76. And if you look at it, the engraving is to
Mr. K or something.
Mr. K. Right. Thanks for believing. Well, Mr. K was his high school art teacher. Right. Or Mr. K for believing. So it was his high school art teacher. So when we got it back, he gave it to his high school art teacher as his, as a gift. And then Mr. K kept it, had it, moved to Sarasota to kind of semi-retire, and kept it with him for, years. And then in the 90s, Mr. K, I guess, was going to, either assisted living or a home or another smaller dwelling, and had a yard sale. And this is late 80s, early 90s. So this is around the time when, Giffen was working on the Justice League book, because the guy who had it bought it from that yard sale. And he knew who Giffen was because he was a Justice League fan. And so that guy held on to it for 20 years. And then, some years back, somewhere in the last 7-8 years, walks in the store, wants to sell it. And then Haspel goes, you want it? I said, yeah. He goes, what do you want to pay for it? No, I don't know, man. What does the guy want? What's it? So we came up with, we worked it out, and then Haspel picked it up for me. And then, I think it took a month or so for me to hook up with him to get it. And when I got it, the first thing I did was I go to Keith. I go, hey, I got this piece. Do you want it back? And he goes, no. And he's like, why are you asking? And I said, well, it's the first thing you ever did. I thought you might want it. It might be sentimental. And he's like, I don't care. Like, I don't want to look back. And that was Keith. He just didn't care about, he was always looking. He was always working on the next thing. That's why he was, working almost till the day he died, and he just did not care. His daughter wanted it, but I was like, no, if Keith wants it, he can have it. Otherwise, I'm keeping it.
Nice.
And that's, it's not the most important piece in the world. It's not the most important piece in the history of comics. But Keith was my favorite artist growing up, on the Legion of Superheroes, Ambush Bug, the couple of fill-ins he did for Justice League. Everybody had their guy. There were Byrne guys, there were Perez guys. I was a Giffen guy, and I don't know if it was to be contrary or what, but I just loved him. Even when he did the Munoz style, right? Like, didn't matter to me. I loved Keith's storytelling, and I know that I'm not crazy because I think Legion was, Legion and Titans were the two biggest sellers at DC at one point in time, and they were that's what was holding the company together. And I know that he was always using breakdowns or layouts because he knew how to tell a story, how to move his story along. Even when he's doing a 9-panel grid, he knew how to tell a story. And so
Keith Giffen Eclipso pages with Ted McKeever.
Yep.
I got a stack of them right next to me just by chance. They were actually amazing together.
They were. I remember that book. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And I think I sent you pictures, but I probably have like 40 pages of Video Jack art.
Yeah.
Around. But I loved Video Jack. Like, that was such a cool book. And in '85. And so having that piece from, for Keith, and then knowing Keith and becoming friends with Keith, and then Keith would just randomly give me stuff. Like, I got this great Ambush Bug Who's Who, pinup that, he just found laying around. And he's like, I figured you'd want this, right? He would do sketches for me all the time and just give them to me. And I just, no matter had he given me anything at all, I just love that guy. I love Keith, and, was crotchety, and was, a curmudgeon, and, hated doing conventions, but he said that he would do my shows anytime I wanted him. Just took care of him. And he really did like fans talking to him and telling him that they loved him, and he liked being out there, no matter what he said. But that piece means a lot to me, right? Like, having his first ever piece, holding on to that Scott Hampton, just the first piece that I really bought, means something to me. I have these West Coast Avengers pages by Bob Hall from the miniseries that I picked up at auction, 10 years ago. And, if you in my office at work, if I look straight ahead, it's these West Coast Avengers pages. It's West Coast Avengers 40 cover, the Mockingbird cover. There's a Sandman page. There's a Dreadstar page. It's all the stuff that I loved when I was a kid. And I had Bob Hall at a show a couple weeks ago in Oklahoma City, and I was showing him the West Coast Avengers pages because I was like, I look at your stuff every day when I'm at work, say in my office. So
that's awesome. Well, the story of the Giffen page gives us all hope of finding something, random like that out there still. You just never know where some of that art is. But
a couple of years ago, do you see the Cubert? You see the war stories?
Those were in that second set that I downloaded. Yeah.
It's a complete story, and it's Cubert working over I don't remember. Hang on a second, let me go grab it. I think it's here.
Can you actually find them, Bill? There's so many files.
I know. So I'm trying to find it right now. They were pretty cool. It looked like Cubert, but it didn't look exactly like Cubert. So if it's Cubert over somebody else, that makes sense. But let's see.
It's in the office, but
I'm thinking, who would have Cubert worked over? Rick Estrada?
No. It's can't remember. It doesn't matter. It just that walked like that just randomly popped up a few years ago down here, and my buddy was a chiropractor. There you go. So zoom in, and I'll tell you the story on this. Go to the bottom to the credits. Ross Andrew.
Oh, cool.
So it's Ross Andrew
And Esposito, yeah.
right, but Cubert had to change certain parts of it because he didn't like the ending was really depressing, and so
that's all Cubert though. That's no Esposito on this page, right?
Zoom in. Yeah, that's Cubert. That's so if you but there's other pages.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna see Esposito more and
Yeah.
right, like you see the paste ups.
Got it.
So you can see how that's Esposito and how that's Cubert, and he just had to change how the story ends because the original story had the soldiers killing themselves as opposed to getting captured by the Germans, and so he changed it that they get killed by the Germans because he didn't want to present American troops as being cowards who would commit suicide, and so they're beautiful pages, but it's this weird, cross section, and my chiropractor buddy Mitch, who was also an artist in his youth, not a good one, who went to who was a student of Will Eisner in New York, and then later on in life when he was a chiropractor, Will came down and lived in Fort Lauderdale, and Mitch was his chiropractor, and he told Mitch, he goes, "You're a much better chiropractor than you ever were an artist," but somehow Mitch knew somebody. Walked into his, chiropractic practice that had this stuff, and sold it to him, and then I picked it up. So there's stuff out there. There was a big EC deal that a widow had in her house that me and my buddy Mark, bought a couple years ago, and then we sold it to Albert Moy, but it was a couple complete stories and a couple covers, but it was just there, and so there's stuff. In houses, there's stuff that is just sitting in boxes. You just don't know. So it's out there.
Yeah.
People walk into shows all the time with stuff that you just, when we do shows. I mean, I wish that I could have a booth where I'm like, buying stuff, like Carbonaro used to. But stuff walks into the shows all the time. Jared Greer, who owns Lexington Comic-Con and is a buddy, he has all the time he's buying stuff at his show because people just walk in with ridiculous stuff.
CAF should set up at GalaxyCon with and call us the booth of unidentified art.
Right.
Let's just let people walk up.
Let's go.
Yeah. Wow.
So, but I'm telling you, there's stuff out there, and it doesn't matter where. Miami, there's stuff. There's stuff in Oklahoma City. There's stuff in San Jose. There's stuff everywhere. There's stuff in Lexington, Kentucky. Just
like all those signs down here in Florida where it's like, we'll buy old records kind of thing. We just need to put signs out, Castro, at every street corner around here that, we'll buy old illustration artwork, comic artwork.
We'll pay top dollar for your disposable production art. Yes.
But it's out there.
I like this idea. Yard signs are cheap.
Yeah.
But and then getting back to the collection, I mean, it's just I have stuff that means something. Like I have a bunch of hate pages by Peter Bagg.
Nice.
I just love that. I love that book, and so I have a bunch of pages. I have one Scud page, from Scud the Disposable Assassin that came up in an auction, and I was like, I gotta have this, right? And I got a bunch of animation art. There you go. There's one of the Bagg pages. So I've got a bunch of those. I've got two Twilight pages, the Jose Luis Garcia Lopez book that was written by Howard Chaykin. That I just, I thought that book was beautiful. So those came up. And my collection is random, right? I think it's not, there's a lot of Superman art, right? There's a lot of stuff, repeated, but there's also a lot of like weird things that just, I just like looking at things that represent, I like seeing these things because they make me think of that, that time. We got a bunch of, Batman, the animated series, sells because Kevin Conroy. So Kevin Conroy did my show in 2007, which was my second Florida SuperCon, which, and Dickie was at, and Shelley Moldoff was at that show.
And Ted and I were not at that show.
There. Todd Knock. We talked about the Ted thing.
That's right.
For not being, at the top billing.
Yeah, but you had the big Batman panel. I think you said at that one, right?
Yeah, the Batman panel with Roy Thomas was there. Kevin Nolan was on the Batman panel. Shelley Moldoff, Alan Burnett, who was the producer of Batman the Animated. Kevin Conroy was on the panel. There were a couple other people, and Michael Uslan was on the panel, and he was there filming for Behind the Secrets of Comic Books. And so Kevin did a ton of shows over the years. And at a certain point in time, I was like, you know what? Instead of just getting like 8x10 signed by him, I'm going to go find old production cells, and I'm just going to have him sign those. And so I sold a lot of them, but I kept a few. That's one of them. And I probably have 5 or 6 really nice cells that he signed. And it's also signed by Lauren Lester, who is Robin. And I have a few that are unsigned because I was going to get him to sign them, at the next show he was going to do. But he passed away a week before he was supposed to do one of my shows. And but Kevin was a wonderful, beautiful man, and another one who was just so good to me. And that's just a Bugs Bunny cell. That's a Batman cell from the 70s, but it's signed. If you zoom in on the Batman one. Yeah, it's signed, back row piece. So, that was, the, if I can get cells signed, I've done that. I have a bunch of Star Trek cells signed by, Shatner and George Takei and Nichelle Nichols, and got a lot of Disney animation art that, there was a Disney auction a couple of years ago that I was lucky to get, some stuff, a Robin Hood piece, an Alice in Wonderland piece, a Lady and the Tramp. I got a couple of Snow White things. So because
a lot of figures around you, by the way. Usually we like to kind of scope out what's in a collector's room, but you're at home now, right? You're not at the office.
Yeah, this is my living room, so it's give a little walk.
Oh wow,
that's one of the showcases.
Wow.
So just goofy stuff.
Yeah, you do not have any wall space. Gosh.
Yeah, I mean that's you'll see the Robin Hood cell there, the Alice in Wonderland. There's a Sylvester there. It's a little messy because I just got back from Orlando and need to repack for San Jose tonight. And then in the back, there's a bunch of figures. I think those are Marvel Legends. If I told you, all right, this is how much of a nerd I am. Okay, don't judge me.
So you got a Modok statue back there.
At least one.
Yeah.
So
wow. You got them grouped. The organization there is scary.
So
yeah.
Can you figure out what I'm doing?
Are you doing the teams in different eras?
Yeah.
Avengers teams?
Yeah.
From beginning through different major eras with some books in the back.
Avengers 1 team, Avengers 4, 16, 38.
Wow.
What is that? 56, 16, 50, 56, 59, what 69. I got, Kree War, 114, the Englehart era, the Korvac stuff. And then going into 200, around the 213, 220, 230, 242 kind of.
Can you show us the lower shelves, Mike? We're only seeing the top. Thanks. Yeah. Oh my God.
So you'll see the Secret Wars group.
Right.
The West Coast Avengers.
Wow.
I'm building out X-Men groups now. We're not quite there yet.
Holy shit.
So awesome. That's just random stuff up there, right? Just because kind of trying to.
You know, Kaz, I'm not seeing a single Modok anyway.
I didn't see. There's
I
no.
have Modok, but I just put up new shelves. So Modok's with a bunch of villains that haven't been put up yet.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about Modok tipping over either. Yeah.
That's amazing, Mike. That's incredible.
That's impressive.
So somebody wants to know how often do I clean the dust off? I don't really clean, but I have all these dehumidifiers in there because I'm in Florida. They don't really get dusty. So,
Wow.
And then Rich says it's capital N nerd. Okay, yes. And then Nick thinks it's X-Men over Avengers, and I highly disagree. Somebody says they don't see the HasLab Galactus. I don't have it. I have the Sentinel. I have a Sentinel. I have the X-Men 97 Sentinel. I don't have the HasLab Sentinel. The only HasLab one, I have the HasLab Giant Man. But because that's that was my favorite. My favorite Marvel character is Hank Pym. So Giant Man, Goliath, Yellow Jacket, and the because I think we talked about this. I started reading books around, and so I have a lot of Hank Pym art. So if you look in my in my CAF, you'll see so I think I have some of the Tales to Astonish pages in there. Mm-hmm. But I loved and ironically, Giant Man was also Keith Giffen's favorite character, and I didn't know that.
No kidding.
A couple years ago, and the reason was when I was really starting to read comics, and I was starting to read Avengers, and that was a book I loved. Was Yellow Jacket was kind of disgraced, right? He had done some naughty things, but then you kind of learn about this character, had a whole backstory, and I'm learning about this, there's this history of the Marvel Universe that went back 20 years or more if you count the timely stuff, and then you learn that this character had this long history, and it's kind of this, they did this thing with him that they didn't really do with other characters, where they kind of broke him, right? And you had Tony becoming an alcoholic, start being an alcoholic, but this is a guy who had a mental break, and clearly was like bipolar, and just broke from the stress of being a superhero. And that was somebody asked, so I like the jumpsuit Hank Pym. Yeah, I have a jumpsuit Hank Pym figure. It's a great figure, and very that's the West Coast Avengers, which was right in my wheelhouse. And yeah, I have number one Marvel fan. Yeah, I have the WCA box set, and the but Pym, I'm reading West Coast Avengers, and it's like him, that was the rehabilitation of Hank Pym, right? So that's where he, I'm just going to be, Hank, and I'm just going to hang out. I'm not going to be a superhero. I'm just going to, wear normal clothes. And then he kind of puts on the jumpsuit, and then he kind of goes through this, weird, this weird phase of like, now he's helping out, and he's like, but I just thought it was interesting and cool that you have this very flawed person who's one of the smartest guys in the MCU, right? Like he's up there. He's up there with Tony and Reed and Banner, but he just has this low self-esteem problem, and it comes from being one of the best heroes in the world at one point in time, but he's on a team with Thor and Iron Man and Captain America, and so he's always being judged next to them. And I just, the psychology of that was just really interesting to me. And then the rebirth of the character, and then him, being redeemed and becoming a hero again, and, not falling back into that, and just working towards being a better person, even though he had, had flaws and had done, some screwed up shit. And that's, I think, I like the fact that he wasn't a perfect hero, that he wasn't a perfect man who, could be flawed.
Bill wasn't going to highlight this, so I'm going to.
I wasn't going to.
Yeah, Cyclops. We give Cyclops a lot of shit on this channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cyclops is a dumb character.
All right. Well, then we're not going to talk about Cyclops anymore.
I mean, we can talk about. I mean, he's boring. You know what he is? You're gonna.
A drama queen.
Hang on. He's the Roy Thomas to Professor X's Stan Lee.
Oh.
In that,
see you later, Bill.
He just doesn't deviate, and he doesn't.
I'm not crying yet.
he doesn't have his own path. And what you need, and I'm not to say anything about Roy, but when he became editor and chief, he was just carrying on what Stan wanted. He was like the next iteration. And so Cyclops never becomes his own man, right? Like, when does Cyclops ever be his own character or his own man? And then you get into the whole stuff with Emma Frost and Jean Grey, and it's what you can only you get. Your kink is that you want your girlfriend to be able to read your mind. What are you, a lunatic? Like, what kind of moron has that as a kink?
Well,
Oh my God.
maybe those of us who can't express ourselves well, we need a psychic girlfriend, spouse.
My favorite X-Men are Beast, Kitty Pryde, Nightcrawler, and Magic. I mean, those are the
I love Nightcrawler Magic. Yeah.
Magic. I love Magic, and we were talking the other day. I grew up reading New Mutants, and that group of Cypher and Kitty Pryde, and Magic. That trio,
Yeah.
I loved that. I think I got two of my New Mutants pages that I got put up there, Bill. The Butch Geist pages. But that's to me, that's seminal stuff. And I love those stories, with Warlock and Cypher, Magic, and Kitty Pryde. That was the gang. And then over in X-Men, it was Beast was with the Avengers by then. So that's where I really learned about Beast. And then on the X-Men proper, that's that McLeod piece I was telling you about the other day.
That's beautiful.
That is just this, cool little New Mutants thing. And so in the X-Men, I knew Nightcrawler. I love Kurt. That's Jose Delbo did that for me for a cover for one of my program guides. So it's my old little SuperCon mascot with,
I remember the SuperCon website very well.
Yeah, and that's Batgirl, Wonder Woman, and Supergirl, all characters that he had worked on. And I have some Wonder Woman pages that Jose did, and I have some. I have this really big painted Batman thing that Bill, I sent you. That hangs in my office, in one of the other offices in my warehouse. But it was like this. He did these huge, massive, giant, recreate, kind of these weird little, things that just beautiful. But yeah, I mean, I don't know why X-Men wasn't my thing. I love the Paul, I love X-Men, right? I love the Paul Smith X-Men. I love, the Byrne stuff, but that's, I'm coming in at the end of Byrne. So I'm really a Paul Smith era guy. And then Romita Jr. And I think, talked about the other day, I thought Dan Green was a phenomenal inker, and that's
amazing.
A piece.
Oh, that's nice.
Those, and gave that to me as a gift once.
What are we looking at? What is this?
It's a painting.
So he did, this is blown up and printed, and then he did the Batman as a painting, or it's all original art?
It's all original.
What's the size of this?
It's huge. It's posters.
It looks like, at least 2 by 3 feet, at least.
Yeah. No, it's got to be. A movie
Maybe more like 2 by 4, I bet. Yeah.
So it's probably 2.5 feet.
Wow.
3 feet.
That is very cool.
And there's a few of those out there. Not a lot, but a few. And just that was
incredible.
I love this. I don't know why. The idea of an 11 by 17 blown up like this and then partially painted, that really works. Huh.
Yeah. So, he just it's so
Nice.
Like I said, eclectic, weird stuff, right? Just not, I don't have a lot of Batman. A few things. I was more of a Superman guy. I was more of a Legion fan. So you'll see a lot of Supergirl in Brainiac 5. You'll see a lot of Ambush Bug. You'll see a lot of Magic. You'll see a lot of Hank Pym.
Bill, you got a lot of art to show. You might as well just start plowing through it, whatever comes up with it. I'm gonna drop off, Mike. I was only gonna stay for an hour. I got to get going.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right. I will start plowing through it. Thanks, you, Kazra.
All right. See you guys. See you, Mike. Safe travel. See you.
Bye, guys.
All right. Well, we do have a lot of art. This is like a CAF. We do these CAF cribs videos. Some guys, shoot their the way they display their collections. So we're kind of getting a whole cribs. But now the photographs we're looking at are from your office, right?
Yeah.
GalaxyCon.
Yeah. There's some I pulled from my house.
All right. Let's see here.
It's an Ambush Bug. DC Comics presents. Keith Giffen.
So a lot of the stuff is framed. That's probably why you don't have scans of everything, right?
Yeah, and I wasn't smart enough to scan them before I put them up, and it's and I'm also time is a factor. There's a lot of time and effort, so I've tried to put as much as I can on CAF, and there's a ton of stuff that has been scanned that I have to get up, so we'll get more up in the next couple months. That's a Delbo piece I bought from a show from him early on. Just thought it was cool.
It actually says Fraden. Is that what?
Oh, I'm sorry, Fraden. Ramona. Sorry. I'm sorry, Ramona. So I have 3 Ramona Fraden pieces. So I got that from her at San Diego, at San Diego Comic-Con. That's right. I have that. I have a piece that you don't have a picture of, that Quan Chang gave me as a gift for my wedding. Since divorce, but it was the wedding of Jor-El and Wara on Krypton.
Nice. So Quan was at your wedding?
Yeah.
He's everywhere.
So that's the view from my office, from my desk. So you see the West Coast Avengers cover. You see the 2 pages. There's the Dreadstar page down there. There's the, those are the Bob Hall pages. It's a Tom Morgan cover.
Yeah, that's a great cover.
And
he
then
has the Starlin, right?
Yep, it's Starlin. And that's a Sandman page in the middle. And that's a Richard Pace Dreadstar cover that he did for, the Kickstarter they did for Dreadstar a few years ago. And then Ian asks, what do I do for the missing corners? Most of the time, the framer will do like a kind of an indent on the matting. And then sometimes I just do it, with the corners showing. So you see on the West Coast Avengers pages, you can see the corners because I didn't want to lose any of the art. Then that Planet of the Apes poster, it's a foreign Planet of the Apes poster that with a check signed by Charlton Heston, and then the picture up top is also signed. And then at the bottom, you'll see the Batman animated. It's Kevin Conroy and Adrienne Barbeau, Catwoman. So Marcus says, show the corners. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times I will show the corners unless it's a bigger page with the corners cut, where it's nowhere near the art. Then it's.
That's not a bad set to be looking at every day while you're working.
Yeah. I think so. That's on my side walls, Tales to Astonish pages, Giant Man stuff.
Yeah, these are great.
And that last one is a Carl Burgos when he did worked for, Marvel for a minute in the 60s. And on the bottom, that's a Keith Giffen Supergirl sketch he did for me. It's a like a kind of a pseudo recreation of first appearance. You see Ambush Bug kind of in the background with the pom-poms. Then that middle one is really means a lot to me. Not the biggest page, but it's from that Avengers run where Pym, the trial of Hank Pym, and they're kind of going over the origin. And that's, just a really, it's a core memory, right? We just talked about my love of Pym, and that page, when that came up, I was like, I gotta get it.
I like you. This is a a unique way with the corners there with the angling in, but you've done that a few times on the mats. That's nice. Can't say that I've seen that done before. And then Buscema Palmer.
Yep.
Okay.
It's that 269.
Yep.
Kang's
All
right.
flashback, but that's great, man.
I love Kang. He's one of my favorite villains, right? And and so I got a bunch of Kang pages floating around.
So clearly, there's a lot of nostalgia baked into your collection. I mean, do you routinely have to check all the auction sites whenever they go through a cycle? Like every Wednesday auction? Just
I don't.
because
I used to. I don't really do it anymore because I kind of have my fill, and I'll look every now and again, but I'm not that active anymore. That's one of my favorite pieces. So that's 2013. Al Plastino was a guest at my show in Florida, and Al, creator of Supergirl, Brainiac, Parasite, Superman artist in the 50s. So Al's coming. He's 94, and it was his last. Ended up being his last show, which is a shame. And he was a wonderful, wonderful man. But Al was like, I want to do a piece for you. I want to do a commission. And I said, what I'd really like is Supergirl and Brainiac 5. And he didn't understand why. And I'm like, oh, because Supergirl and Brainiac 5 are boyfriend and girlfriend. And he's like, oh, okay, I get it. So then he does this. It's a 9x12, pencil. By the way, it's a 9x12 pencil by a 94-year-old man. Like, look at, I think it's beautiful. And he gives it to me, but he didn't do Brainiac 5. He did Brainiac because he didn't remember Brainiac 5, and he just used, and he just did a Brainiac. So you have this weird thing where it's like Supergirl and Brainiac are touching hands and sparking, and it doesn't make any logical sense except, he kind of messed up, but he made this amazing piece that nobody else will ever have. And
exactly.
And so that sits. So that's just to the right of me in my office, and from where I'm sitting in my office, I can just see it, every day.
Wow. I assume you've because of the shows that you've owned and still owned, there's got to be creators that you missed the opportunity to even get to meet them. But it's great that you got to meet Plastino, and whether or not he got the sketch right, it doesn't matter. That's a memory you're never gonna lose. That's beautiful.
There's so many guys that have passed and women that I didn't get a chance to have. Jim Mooney was supposed to do my show in 2007, and we were talking on the phone. He was in Florida, and I love Jim Mooney, right? He's Supergirl, and we talked, and he didn't want to do it. That's the Ambush Bug Who's Who page that Giffen gave me, and I wanted Mooney to do the show. He said, I can't really draw anymore. What am I going to do? I said, I'll make prints. He just signed the prints, right? And he was going to do it, and then I think I was at MegaCon that year, and then I got word that he I think that weekend he had passed away. So what do we got there? So on the top, those are some, Silver Age Avengers, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's Tales to Astonish page.
Yeah. Yep.
And then it's Avengers, 2 Avengers pages. Hawkeye's another one of my favorite characters. And then at the bottom, it's a Justice League splash page. It's the Apocalypse Wow from that Giffen run. And then the middle, it's Action 544, which is the Gil Kane pencils. And then the printed one was Dick Giordano inks. So Dick took the blue lines and inked over the blue lines and changed it quite a bit. But that was those were Gil's pencils. And then that's like, that's again to the right of me in my office. So I look at that every day. And then next to that is a Justice League page by Giffen that he drew for one of the fill-ins. And then the Apocalypse Wow page is Ty Templeton.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Rubenstein and Keith.
Yeah, this is and again, we're only like we've only seen like 10 or 12 slides so far. But again, I can understand why once you have this much in your collection, you can get a little burned out. I mean, you're still looking at art every day.
Yeah, this is one of the newest pieces. This is Esad Ribic just did this for me, and he gave this to me in Oklahoma City. So, you know, part of the deal when he was coming in was he would do a piece for me, and he did that. And it's my characters, GalaxyCon and G-Bot, the mascots for the show. And like I said, that's what I'm getting now. Is I get a lot of stuff like this. You know, of my character, not this. This is special, right? Like this is a beautiful, beautiful piece.
Oh my God. Right. I mean, you know, I've seen a lot of Assad's work, and, you know, because there's just a ton of it on CAF, a lot of the pieces he does at shows. This clearly was a take home piece. And there's,
right.
There's
And
so much work.
Zoom in, you'll see the jazz band at the bottom to signify New Orleans. I'm sorry. He must have given this to me. He gave this to me New Orleans. I'm sorry. Not Oklahoma City. This was New Orleans. They get mixed up. Right. It was New Orleans, and he did the jazz band because it was New Orleans. I'm remembering.
That's not a bad deal. You know, bring in Assad and get a piece like this.
But it's. I mean, that thing it's gorgeous, and like I said, that's what I flipped to, is that I'm getting pieces of my characters now, you know, that we can use for program guides or, you know, promotional art, you know, and that comes from, you know, in the old days. I used to just, you know, use, you know, Marvel DC characters. And then in 2009, I did a cover. Doug Mankey did a gorgeous zombie Green Lantern for me. Gorgeous. And I showed it to Dan DiDio, and he like yelled at me, and he said, "I never saw this. You didn't get our permission. I never saw this." And I'm like, and if you went to Marvel back then to get permission to DC, it's like, okay, you can use this one character like Batman, you know, standard. We don't want them doing anything. And it's like, I'm like, so then I was like, I'm going to just do my own stuff. So we did cosplay covers for a while. And when I started GalaxyCon, I was like, I wanted to create characters that would, you know, resonate with our fans, the audience. Sure. And by having my own characters, I can make my, you know, covers that I can just not have to worry about getting permission or licensing. And at the top, there's, you know, more Tales to Astonish pages. And
the romance cover.
Yeah, it's an Avengers cover. I mean, Avengers page, and you know, Girls Love cover. That's
yeah, these pages are pretty nice.
Wow. So the Jace. So that if you go back to the Girls Love.
Yeah, sorry. Here we go.
So that's J. Scott Pike, who created Dolphin, right? Mm-hmm. So he did a lot of romance books. So I'm not a romance book guy. So that's why it's like this one. It's these weird outlier, right? Like you're not going to see a lot of romance stuff, except J. Scott Pike did a bunch of romance books. So whenever a J. Scott Pike romance page came up or cover, I try and grab it. So I've got about, you know, eight or so of them. And I just loved. So what I love old pinup art, you know, from the 50s and 60s, 40s. And J. Scott Pike was a pinup artist, right? Like he was one of those guys who then got into comics. So he, you know, he starts off doing, you know, painted pinup stuff, and then gets in, you know, illustration, and then gets into comics. And then his in comics, he worked on the romance stuff. So that's why that I have that stuff. That's why in all the, you know, the superhero stuff, you see this weird, you know, one-off with a pink frame.
Do you have any Gil Elfgren or anything like that?
I know. And Jay's another one. Like I talked to Jay, he was living in Florida, and I tried to get him to come to the shows, but I just couldn't get him to come. He just was too old at that point and wouldn't travel. And but we talked a few times, and it seemed like a nice gentleman. Alberto says I don't have any cap art. I do have cap art. I have a bunch of cap art by Allan Bellman.
Alberto is our #1 Captain America art collector, by the way. If he only had one character in mind for his collection, it's Cap. he's branching out a little bit here or there. He's picked up a few DC pieces of late, some Red Sonja artwork, but by and large, it's all Cap. He just picked up.
I don't have a lot of Cap, but there's a few. I mostly have Cap in my Avengers, but like I said, I have a bunch of Bellman stuff, because he did a lot of covers for me. And then he did. There's one cover he did, which is Cap. The recreation of Captain America 1 with Cap punching Hitler.
Right.
Which is a really cool piece I've got. And then Marcus wants me to show Aparo. I don't have any Aparo.
Sorry, Marcus.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm not a big Batman guy. I was more Superman.
Well, that's why you have all the Swan art.
Yeah. And then Ian wants to know if I have any Guardians of the Galaxy. I do. I have some Brad Walker stuff, but I don't have it. I don't think I sent it to Bill. Because Brad, did a bunch of store appearances with me, 2010, 2011.
Love Brad's work.
Yeah,
Ian would be our #1 Guardians of the Galaxy art collector. See, there's a lot of character-driven art collecting out there. Nostalgia is a big factor. Characters are a big, factor in collecting, and I do hate to say it, I have a lot of Thor and Cyclops artwork, Mike. So
you're the Cyclops.
Yeah, that was all about ribbing me, because that's it's not even that I asked for it. I just one day said that Cyclops was the best leader of the X-Men, over Storm and whoever else might have tried to lead the team, and it was all downhill from there. So
Magic.
That's you have a lot of Magic artwork. I don't know if I'm not sure where I'm at in the queue, but
that's Gustavo Duarte, who's
nice.
Who is a Brazilian artist, and he helped create the Galaxy Girl and G-Bot characters, and he is just a one. He did those Dear Justice League, Dear Super Villains books. He did some Guardians of the Galaxy. He did the Bizarro book for DC. So I've got a lot of Gustavo, but mostly it's of Galaxy Girl and G-Bot. But that was Kermit and Henson. Because I'm a big Muppet.
Mike, my Muppet brother.
Yeah. We're big Muppets guys.
Here's another one of your Galaxy Girls.
Yep, that's Jimmy Chung.
Oh, yeah.
And again, this was last year, I think, in San Jose. And, a year ago. And so you could see it's just, Jimmy. I think Jimmy's one of the best artists, of the modern day, and I think way underappreciated. But it's just that's my thing. Kenneth is asking me if I have any Galactica pages. I don't have any Galactica. Not that I wouldn't want them. I just don't have any. Marcus is asking if I have any Thor. I don't really have any Thor. He's not. I have him in Avengers. I have one Thor piece, and I don't even know if I sent it to you. And it's another Galaxy Girl by Tom Grummett. Just another really nice, cool piece.
Yeah, that's I always like Grummet stuff, but I have to congratulate you. The GalaxyCon's really become a very good brand, and it's doing really well and filling a lot of holes in a lot of cities that were lacking, I think, for a long time, and having really solid shows. So I think you've done a great job with that.
Trying.
Now, is it a requirement to get the Galaxy Girl on these, or is from some of the artists that go to the shows, or do a lot of them just end up with you on the way out the door?
I don't, there's no requirement. Just sometimes I'll ask, and Marcus wants to know if I'm going to buy Fan Expo. No, they're owned by Informa. That's $1 billion company, and there's no way. And yes, GalaxyCon was sold out here in North Carolina. Saturday was sold out. Yeah. No, it's not a requirement, but sometimes I'll ask specifically. Like I think I specifically asked Jimmy, or I specifically asked Esad. I think Tom just did that for me as a surprise.
And do you think with the sods you could use that for Nola next year as an image?
Yes, it's for the cover. And I talked to him about it and told him we're going to use it for a cover.
Good.
That's a Keith Giffen Superboy. Just I love Keith, and I love, you know, Cal-El.
Yeah, that's a great image. Schaffenberger on it too.
Robert Rodriguez did an Ant-Man for me. That was a gift. He didn't, I didn't know, and he just surprised me with that.
Yeah, I love Robbie's work. That's a good one too, man.
He's a great artist. So that's on the left side of my office. So you'll see the Swan, Superman stuff at the top. Except I think that one is that. Yeah, that's Kurt Schaffenberger. Those last two, the two to the right are Kurt, and then you get to the Swan stuff with the Supergirl from Adventure.
And now we get some magic finally here too.
Yeah, I mean, there's Chris Picciolo, there's Raphael Albuquerque, Tul Wote with Brainiac.
Yeah.
Those were all, things they did for me at the show.
I know you have a few pieces by Tula in your collection. They're amazing. She's fantastic.
Yeah, he's again another one who I think is completely underappreciated in the industry. If I was doing a comic company, that Magic and Loki at the bottom is Matea Santaluco, just gorgeous. And then that's a Star Trek publicity cell for the cartoon. It's signed by Bill and Nichelle. And then in the corner, that really weird little small piece is a postcard it's Colleen Doran. I think that's 98 at Dragon Con. Did that for me, and it was like just a little sketch on one of her postcards. And it was her deal was buy some of her. She did this independent book, and like buy a couple copies of Distant Soil, and I'll do a sketch for you. I'm like, okay.
Hard to say no. She has a very active Substack, so she's always posting on. Oh, here we missed a couple over here, right? Oh,
yeah, those are the swans at the top.
Oh wow, that title page is great.
Yeah. And then underneath, you'll see a Peter Bagg page, from Haight, and then that Tales to Astonish is a recreation by Darwin Cook. There was a collector down here in South Florida named Steve Lipsky, and he got that at MegaCon from Darwin one show, and he just first minute he got it, he wanted to show it to me and be like, look what I got, because he knew I was a big fan. And then I'm like, all right, well, if you ever want to sell it, let me know. And then for years, I'm never going to sell it. I'm never going to sell it. I'm never going to sell it. And then one day, he was like, hey, I need some money, and he sold that to me. And it's I just love that piece.
Yeah, Steve's a good guy.
Oh yeah, Steve. Yeah.
Lunatic,
but yeah, he's a really good
guy. Yeah,
he's a really good man.
That's cool. I've never seen that image by Darwin though. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about commissions and stuff like this. They might have been done at home and then taken to a show and sold. You just don't know what's out there from creators, and then something like this turns out that probably a lot of people haven't seen before. It's just cool to know it even exists.
And then at the bottom, go back.
Oh yeah, sure.
Go all the way to the bottom. You see that Galaxy Girl? So that's my desk. You see the rocket on the desk? That's where I work from. So that's from Gustavo. That's the very first image of Galaxy Girl. So that's the conception sketch. I told him what I wanted. I said, I gave him exactly what I wanted, and then he did not give me everything I wanted, but he created the perfect character. And I love that character, and I love Gustavo, and he is my brother. And he is a wonderful cartoonist, and I, can't wait to see him again. He lives in Brazil, so, a lot of my Brazilians are not traveling so much right now because of conditions. And so it was very upsetting to me, but we can talk and we can text. And, but that was a gift from him. When we, and you could write it if you read the inscription. And that's Mateus Santaluoco did that for me. And Mateus is just such a talented motherfucker. Pardon my language. I've tried not to curse on this, but I don't know what else to say. Just such a beautiful. Just that piece is so gorgeous, and just did put more into it than I could ever ask.
Did you commission him for this?
He was doing the show, and at the time his rep said, would you want anything about Mateus? And I'm like, yeah, I'd like a magic. And then he gave me that. I didn't ask for the Loki. He just put Loki in there. It was cool.
That's that's awesome. It could be a cover.
Oh, you know what I think was? I think I might have asked for Magic and Lockheed, and he might have gotten translated wrong, and he might have thought I meant Loki because he didn't know what Lockheed was. So that's how I got the Loki. Well,
I mean, it works so well together, though. It looks like they should be in a story together.
Kazra wants to see the Magic next. Was it?
This is the one he wanted to see. Yeah, because I was only showing the corner of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's your desk. So you get to look at it every single day.
Yeah, that's what I stare at. And you're going to kind of see next, I think. Yeah, that scud is right on the side of me from my chair. And that's just a random page from Scud, and then it came with that. I bought it at an auction, and it came with that little sketch at the bottom, so I kept it. That's right, Alberto. Loki is Thor adjacent.
I have an affinity for the Asgardians, but yeah, no, this is cool. And why not, right? If that piece came with it, why not frame it with it? I've got a lot of times when you pick up a piece of art from an artist, they'll I bought like a piece from Steve Mannion in the mail, and he threw in like two small sketches that were related to the page in some weird way, and it's like, what do you do with it? It's if you can either leave them in the bag or put them in a Itoya on the next page, or like what you've done here is frame it. I love it. Let's see.
But I love Scud, so that's my favorite Swan splash page that I own. Not my favorite Swan splash page, but the one of that I own. Just a slave of the Star Sapphire.
And Murphy Anderson inks on this too. So shoot,
Murphy was such a great, artist and inker.
Wow.
And then if you go to the one next to it is another just, Swan. That's just a, just Superman being Superman.
Get Al Williamson inks on that one.
Yep.
Gosh. You collected a lot in a relatively small window. If you think about getting heavily into it just past the mid '90s through 22 years in. I mean, this is it's a lot of work.
And like I said, I have a lot of what I wanted, or I have representations thereof, right? So I have hate pages. Do I need any more hate pages? Probably not. I've got a bunch. Do I need more Scud pages? I mean, I probably would buy them, but do I need them? Do I need more Swan Superman? I have so much, right? I would buy Keith Giffen pages. I don't think I would ever stop that. But, in a lot of this, do I need more? And do I need more sketches? That's just some animation. Those are just those aren't real. They're the Cavassier animation cells that Disney sold that are the reproductions, but they're still cool.
Oh wow!
So talking about things that just walk into a store. So my buddy owns a store down here, Mark, and these walked in one day a couple years ago. And there's another X-Men page. There's a 194 page with Nimrod that you'll see. And so that page, and whoever earlier, like you see, you could see all the corners because I just didn't want to, cut into it. And that just, Marcus says, or Joelle, I have some Joelle pieces around. I love Joelle. She's fantastic. But this is, Romita Jr. And just walked into the store and he called, he asked me if I wanted, to talk to him. And I was like, yeah, man, I'd love him. Just this is my childhood, right? Like this is what I was reading when I was a kid. So, you know, that's my X-Men. And like I said, I love the Byrne X-Men. They're gorgeous, but those aren't my X-Men. I wasn't reading them, you know, new. Those were back issues to me. To me, the new stuff was Paul Smith and Enter Romita Jr.
Well, it's good to have friends that know you like to collect original art. You can get a phone call just to say, hey, this just walked in the store. Do you want it? Yeah.
Marvel fan wasn't. I don't have any hostess ads. I bid on some. I tried. I never got them. So that's outside my office, right? Between my office and a bathroom. My Metropolis poster. But that's a Twilight page by Luis Garcia Lopez at the top. And that's a Peter Bagg sketch that he did for me at MegaCon a couple years ago. And then you're going to see another one of those romance pages by J. Scott Pike. If you zoom in. The Bad Seed.
Yeah, well, they were a good designer, that's for sure. It's an interesting composition. Hand lettered too, I imagine.
Yeah. If you scroll up, you'll see the hate commission.
Yeah, that one's in your CAF too, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
That one's a good one.
It's 2017, I think. And then
I love Pete's work. Oh, there's a close-up of that one page, the Garcia Lopez.
Yeah, I think that's a different one.
Okay.
I don't think that's the same one. But yeah, Chaikin says that's one of the favorite books he's ever worked on because he loves Jose and got to work on him on that. Joe Rubenstein, Handbook of the Marvel Universe thing. That was an auction thing, but it was PIM, so I'm like, I gotta have this.
Yeah, Joe inked a lot of those handbook pieces, if not almost all of them, probably.
What do we got there?
That's
Twilight page. Yeah, no, Garcia Lopez. So the Iron Man 150 recreation is Bob Layton did that for me. And if you zoom in on it, you'll see it has the fins. It's the Finn Iron Man.
Oh yeah.
So that's how you can differentiate. But he there was a point in time where he liked to do those recreations. And then that's a Avengers page, Yellow Jacket, doing Yellow Jacket things. You know, in a bad way. Tim Seeley, Hack Slash, published piece. I think that was a pinup. And then Justice League splash page.
Yeah, I like the way you frame these too, Mike. I have to say, I mean, getting to see the cut corners like that. Yeah, if they were masked off with the mat, it just wouldn't. It would feel more like a print, right? I mean, it's great seeing them like this.
Right, like I want to see original art, and it's cut, but it's it's too close to the art to do the matting, so you just have to let it breathe. And yeah, Bob still does recreations. You'll see another Bob recreation that Spencer got from me a little while ago and sent to me. More J. Scott Pike. And that Superman's Wayne Boring.
Oh, that's really great.
I got that at auction. And I was just like, how many times am I going to have the chance to get a Wayne Boring Superman? And, just a classic thing. It's got Superman, it's got Clark, it's got Lex, it's got Lois. So, that barrel-chested George Reed Superman. And, that's in my hallway, in my office.
Yeah, I like how the Superman pieces have you framed them, at least several of them, with that same blue and red.
Yeah. Marcus wants to know if I have any Bob Kane. No. No Bob Kane. What? Is there any Bob Kane out there?
Yeah, we ask that question regularly. Yeah, whether or not there's legit Bob Kanes out there. Not on the market right now.
You know what? I do have Bob Kane pieces, except they're drawn by Shelley Moldoff. And Shelley told me that Shelley made it very clear to me that Bob would sign his name to his stuff back in the old days, and that if he complained, he would have been without a job. So I don't really. Bob Kane is not. Yeah.
He is a controversial figure in comics, that's for sure.
Wants to know Jack of Hearts and Rom. No, I don't have any Jack of Hearts, and Jack of Hearts is one of my favorite characters because Keith created him. So I'm having a custom Jack of Hearts action figure made, and I love Rom. No, I just have the Rom action figure. So that's just another Avengers page as part of that trial of Hank Pym's story, which again is seminal to me. And then that Adam Hughes sketch is the sketch Adam did for me at a store appearance in '95, I think.
Wow.
And so that's one of my oldest pieces. All right.
He did a lot of pencil sketches back, at that period. I think I got one in probably MegaCon or whatever, something in Florida in the late '90s. And I was dumb enough to have somebody else ink it, and I didn't like it after that. So, I love seeing these older classic Adam Hughes pencil pieces because it reminds me of my mistakes as an early collector.
Yeah. And number we're funding any Star Fox. Yes, we finally are. Except I have a really great custom piece with my Avengers over there. That was a gift from my friend Nick. I think for my birthday. But yes, now I will get a legitimate Star Fox. Okay, so Ambush Bug by Keith Giffen, which I told you the story the other day. That piece is really special to me, right? That was Keith hadn't done, and that Supergirl was Rebecca Isaacs, just a really beautiful, kind of colored pencil piece. But that Ambush Bug is significant because Keith for years hadn't done full pencils. He had been doing, his eyesight was bad, and he eventually had surgery, and he was doing like really rough, layouts. And you were seeing Scott kind of, inking him, and so that OMAC stuff, and a lot of the other stuff, he was doing layouts and breakdowns, but he wasn't doing full pencils. And I kind of was giving him shit about it. And I was like, why aren't you? And then he's like, he didn't know if he could still do it. And he hadn't done it in years. And then he showed up to my next show with that piece, hands it to me, he goes, yeah, I could still go. And he made that, he made that his convention print, and had a name. And that was, Jamie Inkett. And then he, that was a convention print he used for the last couple of years, along with some other stuff, but that's the original. And then because of that, he started doing full pencils, in the last couple of years of his life. And you could see just, he was, probably then, in his late 60s, I think he died in 72, but that late 60s, he still had it, man. Still had it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love seeing his pencil work. I mean, this clearly is super special for you. But man, there's not enough just pure pencil pieces by Giffen out there. At least not on CAF. But yeah, that's gorgeous.
Another Magic.
Who did the Magic? Let's see.
It's Robbie. Yeah.
Oh, Robbie.
So that's Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And that Supergirl and Brainiac is Mike Grell.
Yeah, Grell is unmistakable.
Yeah. When you see the Warlord piece later, tell you a story about that. So that's Tim Seeley, you know, the girls from E-Man, Master of the Universe,
Mm-hmm.
and at the bottom, that's a Gil Kane sketch that I got at auction. Spencer Beck likes to remind me that he owned it at one point in time, and that he didn't like it because if you look at the cheek, there's a Gil screwed up. So he tried to make it work and clean it up, and I'm like, I don't care, man. I got a Gil Kane Green Lantern on my wall. You can go F yourself.
Exactly. Why knock it, right? I mean, honestly, the funny thing is when you see it, you almost don't even notice it, and
Never
then
would. But
yeah,
you know what? It was affordable, and now I get to look at Gil Kane Green Lantern. So
mm-hmm.
you know,
Well, I liked it a lot. That's why I threw it in the intro video at the end. It's just a good image.
it's a great image. And then you see animation art, Dynamut, and you see that Frank Welker signed the Dynamut because he was the voice. Then the Green Lantern from the 70s Filmation, you know, cartoons.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
You know, just animation. You know,
Bit of Disney.
Disney. You know, a Mickey Mouse from the 50s, and I think that's 51. Donald Duck, I think, from the 40s.
Hey, Nick Perucci's in the chat. Must have heard his name mentioned earlier.
Hi, Nick. We were talking about that Justice League 2 cover I sold you a couple years ago. The only piece of art, like the one piece of art that I sold. Avengers page, New Mutants, you know, Jackson Geis, you know, Kazra and I were talking about, you know, New Mutants the other day. And,
yeah, that page is incredible. This New Mutants page. Damn. With Beatty inks too. That makes it even better.
Yeah, Nick's going, uh-oh. Come on, Nick. You show all your stuff online all the time. Precious bastard. I mean, Nicky has amazing stuff.
Nick's got amazing stuff on top of amazing stuff.
Yes. Nick's collection puts mine to shame. And then again, you know, another Swan splash and another Swan, you know, Superman page. But I just love that Superman page where he's just flying. You see the chest. Nick says I'm one of the nicest guys he's ever met, and he has not met a lot of people. Dave Wachter did that for me. Elsa Bloodstone. I love that character. It's the only Elsa Bloodstone sketch I have. I do have the action figure, and but I love that. I just love that piece because he asked me to what I want him to do, and he's such a unique artist, and he's more, you know, geared towards the horror stuff and the, you know, the monster stuff. And I'm like, you know what, I think you'd make to a really cool Elsa Bloodstone. So let's, you know, and then he did that. You know, that's again right outside my office when you kind of walk out to go down the hallway.
It's great, I love Dave's work too. I mean, he's doing those Godzilla books right now, but yeah, he's awesome. I've liked him since the first time I laid eyes on his artwork. I just think he's incredibly talented.
We just did 3 different Godzilla #1s, foil variants, and it was Dave, Georges Genti, and Drew Johnson.
Oh, perfect.
So, hallway art, Gene Colan Silverblade cover. I know it's just a weird random thing, but I loved that book. You know, when it came out in the 80s, it was that 12-issue series, and it was very, you know, Twilight Zone-esque. Then in the middle, it's a Grant Morrison, Grant Morrison's Invisibles, and you know, just a book I loved. And then a Rick and Morty cover that Rebecca Isaacs did for me for a variant cover. And then there's more Kurt.
Can't go wrong with Swan pages. I remember I told you I'm not a DC guy, but I own 5 Kurt Swan pages because they're just too nice. I mean, his style's, you know, beautiful, and and they're still kind of affordable. I mean, as far as pages go, I mean, I bought mine a while back, but I love his work.
Nick's saying this and that does are not appreciative of that. Yeah, and Night Force. I think Gene, you know, was a very unique artist, and they gave him some cool projects that weren't, you know, mainstream at the time. But,
I bought Night Force #1 when it came out. You know, the cover is actually on Heritage right now. Believe it or not, ends tomorrow on a Wednesday auction of all places.
oh my God.
Isn't that stupid? I mean, why would they put? You know, again, it's not like the most well-remembered book, but that cover is so unbelievable. I mean, I was shocked to see it.
Oh,
I know. Sorry, I'm not trying to tell you there's something out there you need to add to your collection, but
no, I got to pay for a show this weekend.
Yes, you do.
Oh God.
I know. I'm curious to see where that winds up because again, it's not for me. You know, it's I remember picking it up at the drugstore. You know, I mean, it's just back when you wanted to have every #1 issue that you could get when they came out, even if you didn't know what it was about. I got that one.
And so it's a Robbie Rodriguez death sketch that he did for me. You know, you've seen a couple of Sandman things, death things here and there. So, you know, and then what's that next to that? That's Video Jack page. So Keith Giffen Video Jack. I have so many Video Jack pages. I only have a few that are framed because it would cost, you know, it probably costs what it's going to cost to buy that Night Force page
Yeah, you know, I wasn't familiar with Video Jack. And I think a couple months ago on Heritage, they had like 3 or 4 Video Jack pages in the same auction, and I thought the art was fantastic in it.
No, Keith really was just put his heart and soul into that book because it was different. He got to the damn fire exit thing is popping up. It's Raphael Albuquerque, Supergirl and Batgirl. I didn't get a good picture of it.
Wow. That's Peter Katz in the background, I think. I see him reflected in yeah,
we're walking down the hall talking about that.
He's like, son of a bee.
Peter Katz makes an appearance.
We didn't think we'd see him for a while.
No.
But yeah, Albuquerque, love his work. That's a great piece.
So yeah, Peter was walking with me as I was snapping pictures. Everybody's, what are you doing? Taking inventory? I'm like, nah, I'm doing a thing.
Oh man, and then another Swan for us. God, that's awesome.
Marcus says it's exit signs report for insurance purposes.
Yeah.
Just a Hawkeye page. You know, from the more modern series. I just really liked. Go back.
I went past a couple there. There we go.
Go back to the one before that. I think you skipped something.
Oh yeah. Well, it was the sorry. It was there we go.
Okay. So you know, just more magic sketches. It's scrolling on the top one. Oh God, what's her name? Stacy. Stacy, I think, right?
Can't make it out.
And then at the bottom, it's it's Mateus again. Santa Loco.
There's art everywhere.
There is Sarah Pacelli, Groot and Rockets. As whoever was asking for Guardians of the Galaxy, there you go.
Probably Ian.
You know, Sarah, you know, did my shows a lot in Miami. Perez, Giant Man at the bottom, just a sketch he did for Hero Initiative that was auctioned. John Bolton in the middle there.
Man, there's never any accidents, right? No cleaning ladies knocking these things off.
There might have been one. There might be an Avengers page from like the bomber jacket era that has broken glass that needs to get repaired.
Okay, so it has happened at least once.
Yeah, Steve Epting page.
Oh, yeah, I love Epting. Let's see what we got.
You know what the cleaning people do when they're dusting? They make it off center, and I gotta walk around and like center.
Oh, is that why they're all?
Yeah, that's why they're all messy.
I
All right,
get paid to clean, not hang art.
so scroll in on the Kitty Pryde and Magic.
Is that a Nolan?
That's Kevin Nolan.
Okay.
Which is I just love. And then next to that is the Groot and Rocket. Scrolling. That's Luis Arroyo.
Oh, cool.
Piece.
There's your another Kang.
Another Kang. And then Jenny Friesen, Wonder Woman. And Sikowski, Wonder Woman. This Sikowski came up in auction. It's that, that new look Wonder Woman. I'm like, it's random, but I'm like, how often are you going to get that?
Right. It's Peter Katz texting you.
It actually is Peter Katz texting me.
I did not put any malware on your phone to know that. Mike.
No, it's about
It's about San Jose, right?
it's about just flights in general. That's just a Mickey Mouse, 2 Mickey Mouse animation pieces. And under that's Fred Hembeck, a couple of Fred Hembeck cards. I've got so many I got like 200 Fred Hembeck cards that he does, these sketch cards.
Oh yeah, we know. As soon as you said that, there's guys salivating in the chat right now. Hembeck's one of my favorite guys. I've had him on the show at least 5 times doing sales. I mean, there's a Facebook group called like Hembeck Destroys the Universe. That's just all guys buying sketch cards, talking about what his latest rounds are. I mean, I don't have 200, but yeah, Hembeck's beloved.
Yeah, Nick says my Hembeck gallery is insane.
Oh boy, yeah. There's a few.
My Marvel fan has 360 Hembeck, so he might beat me.
I've got a few Hembecks in the drawer right here. Last time we did a show, he sent me too much art, and I was just like, we can't sell that much art in an hour and 10 minutes or whatever his shows usually go. So I got him set aside. He's giving me stuff from his buyer's guide days.
Oh God,
he still has a lot of that and a lot of his Marvel Age work too. So just fun stuff that you wouldn't think he'd still have, but there's some great stuff that he's been sitting on for a while.
So it's a Justice League of America page up top. That's a Jose Delbo Wonder Woman. Scroll down, you'll see. So that's an ambush bug splash. But if you scroll in on it, so that's all Keith except for one character. The Bethany Snow is Perez.
Funny, yeah. Because
Perez was doing Bethany Snow was in the Teen Titans book, and so he went to Perez and he goes, he wanted, he thought it'd be fun.
That's awesome.
Jim Sherman, Dread Star page, when he was filling in for Jim. So another Kurt Swan, Superman. That's an earlier frame job before we started doing the blue and yellow or blue and red. So, and then next to that, it's another Wonder Woman page.
Is that Colin?
Yeah, it's Gene.
Wow.
And then that's a Giffen Superman page. And I think you're scrolling on that, Superman. That's the it's action. Yeah, it's an action cover. I have a bunch of the German. There was a German book that Keith worked on that never got published in the U.S. So I got a bunch of those pages, but that's a real action page. Scroll down. More Sherman Dread Stars. There was just a couple months where, every week there was another Jim Sherman Dread Star page on Heritage. That's a Tool take cover she did for me for a variant for AWA. a couple years ago.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're right. Tula's. I mean, I don't know if it's hard to call her underrated because it seems like a lot of people are talking about her work, but man, yeah, I love her stuff.
Keith Giffen, Action Comics. It's the vampire issue. And then there's Kurt Schaffenberg, Superboy, and then that's Tim Seeley did a G.I. Joe 21 variant cover for me. And Nick said, "Did I see the?" No, I didn't. I did not see the Ernie Cologne Dreadstar issues. I have one of the covers for the Ernie's Dreadstars, which I think I sent you, Bill. We'll get to, but I didn't see the completes.
Derek was asking, do you have the giant golden Brainiac splash from that?
Wish I did. So that's a cool piece. So that, remember the guy who I got the X-Men double page spread from? This also walked into the store. So it's a double page splash for Action Comics 300, the anniversary issue, and by Swan.
It almost makes me want to open a comic shop.
Nope. Never again. More Peter Bag hate. That Magic and Joaquin is Jeff Zarnow.
What was the artist's name on the left? I'm sorry. Jeff
Zornow.
Okay.
He's working on all stuff. Why don't we that Godzilla stuff? And the Batwoman is by oh God. Zoom in on that. I hate myself.
Yeah, I can't tell on that one.
It's on my CAF. Oh God, he's a great artist. You forget, you get old.
You have too much art when you can't remember. Let's see. Maybe I'll be able to search. Jeremy Hahn.
Jeremy Hahn, yes. Ooh, Saved by the Bell. Another classic Avengers book.
That's incredible. Yeah, John Buscema, obviously, but I love that page.
Yeah, no, it's not J.H. Williams. It's Jeremy Hahn doing his thing. So that Superman, Supergirl, Dave Gibbons did that for me as a sketch, as a commission when he did my show in Miami. I want to say 2010, around that time. There's probably a date on there. But that's, Gibbons wanted to know what I wanted, and it might be 2011. Is that what?
It says 2013, I think.
It all blurs together. So he's like, what he wanted, and everybody wanted Watchmen at the time, right? The Watchmen movie. Like, F that, I want Mongol. And then Eddie Campbell Bacchus, from the One Color special they did.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that book. I love that book. No, Nick doesn't get a dunce cap because you would think it's J.H. Williams, and that's the go-to on that character, and it looks like it would be J.H. Williams, but it's just just Jeremy just did such a great job on that. So that's the Doug Mankey Green Lantern piece that I told you Dan DiDio yelled at me about putting on a cover. So they did for me in 2009, and for that program guide, and then that's a Tim Seeley hack slash pinup published. Tim's a friend, and I love Tim's stuff, and I love that character, the Cassie Hack character.
Yeah, I think Tim's underrated. I've always thought his work's great. And hack slash is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Magic by Gustavo Duarte. And then that Supergirl and Brainiac did that. Scrolling on that.
Larry or Barry Kitson.
Barry Kitson, yes, Barry.
Yeah,
Yes, of course. So Mike Dridgenberg, death, you know, probably can't touch a Mike Dridgenberg page with death.
Nope.
So I'm gonna be happy for what I have. And then I got that Ant-Man, that Ant-Man sketch is scrolling on that.
Gabriel Hardin.
Yes, Gabriel Hardin, who I think is also another phenomenal artist.
Yeah. That's a great, con sketch. As far as compositions go, that kicks ass. Yeah.
I think I got both of those from an auction from one of the Sundays.
There's that piece again.
There's that Delbo. More, Batman anime series sells. That one signed by the Batman is signed by Kevin. The Penguin is signed by Paul Williams.
Nice. Really, all right.
We're talking about Bellman, right? So the Marvels project is just something, some random thing he did for me. That piece with the three, that's the first piece of art Allan ever gave me in either 2006, 2007. I just, just something he was selling at his table, and and when Allan started with me in 06, he hadn't quite gotten the hang of drawing again. He hadn't drawn in years, and then
Sorry.
And then you can see the evolution where he just starts to feel more comfortable. So like that middle one, I think is, 2011, a cover for the program guide. And then the Captain America punching Hitler is, I think, 2012.
It's got the Supercon figure on there too.
Yep. And then the shield is what he brought to him at all the shows. That was his, that was his convention shield. And then the Tony and Cap and Iron Man and the shaking hands was 2013. And I don't know what Allan was thinking. He wanted to do something different, and he's got like the characters on the side, and it was during Civil War, and he wanted to make it like that. Cap and Iron Man wouldn't fight. They're going to be friends. And then the one next to that is Captain America and Thor by a volcano, just a random piece that he did and gave me. And then that other one, the Cap Thanos, is another one of the covers that we did. I wish that didn't have that light obscuring everything. But I was rushing.
Those are nice though. It's great that you got to work with Bellman. Become close to him.
Closest thing to a grandfather I ever had, and just took very good care. It was great. So that's in my warehouse on my balcony where I do a lot of work. When I have to like sort stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Another Bellman right there, and just that's kind of my shrine to Allan, so I can remember him. Just a
Happy Days
cell that's signed by Henry. Then a Yogi Bear cell, Yogi and Boo Boo. Another Star Trek animation cell signed by Bill. Now we're getting to the stuff that's not framed. I just went through a stack. More Galaxy Girl art.
Adriana Mello, that's nice. Yeah. Jim Smith.
That's Mateus. Now I make him give me Galaxy Girl instead of Magic. And is that Cal Fury, I think. Yeah, that's Jim, and that's
Oh, Califiore, yeah, right here. Well, see, you ran out of wall space.
well, I just haven't had time to frame this stuff. But I have scanned them. You see, so when you see the numbers, that means it's been scanned, and now I just got to get on my CAF.
Then you have no excuse. Well, no, you do have a lot of Mike. You're one of the busier. I think I'm busy. You're twice as busy as me. So you said you were lazy earlier. I don't think you're lazy. I mean,
That's just time.
yeah, we have an app now. You can do it from your phone while you're traveling.
Good idea. Or Galaxy Girl. Chris Pichalo magic that he did for me.
Shoot, that's awesome.
And,
he doesn't usually do tonal work on his stuff at shows or pre-show stuff at all. That's really nice.
No, it's fantastic. It's gorgeous. And then Rafa Albuquerque did that Galaxy Girl for me. Rafa is just amazing. So that Action Comics is a recent Bob Layton recreation that Spencer sent me. And then that's an Al Milgram West Coast Avengers page.
I love West Coast Avengers. The stories are so much fun, and yeah, this is a good page. I have a couple pages from the book myself. They're just awesome.
So that Maleficent is artist by the name of Daniela Traki, who's from Miami. She lives in New York now. Doesn't necessarily do a ton of comic work. Does a lot of commercial work. But I did a bunch of Maleficent variants with Nick, and Nick says that cover is dynamite. It is. So Nikki was doing Maleficent, and I was like, it's like the perfect book for GalaxyCon to do a variant of, because it's, I always have these voice actors and I have a big animation crowd, and it's a Disney book, and so I went out and I got a bunch of different artists to do different covers. And I think, we did 6 different covers, and that was Danielle's cover. And Gustavo Duarte did a cover for me, and and then that another West Coast Avengers with Kang. Rama Tut. And then Kazra knows Danielle. Yeah, Danielle was one of my kids down here in Miami. I had a group. I had a group of kids. Her, Jeff DeCal, Eric Bonhomme. Just great artists down here. That I tried to help along the way. Star Trek, Sunday strip signed by Bill.
That's not too bad. But is it huge? Because I have a Star Trek Sunday, and it's gigantic.
It's big. It's the size of 2 pages of art. Keith Giffen splash from Legion.
Oh wow!
Just from the 5 years later stuff. Just nothing that and I wouldn't frame it. It doesn't have the heroes on it, but it's just still a cool piece.
Oh, here's the ones we looked at earlier.
Yeah, that Cubert.
Esposito and.
Right, you see that, and that last page is just all redone because they didn't want that original ending.
Yep. Bohampton.
Yep. Don Bluth signed that for me. Now we got some video jack pages. Remember I told you I have, you just,
I love the, come on, the 12 panel layouts. It's tough to tell a story like this. This is, it's so unique. You could tell he loved what he was doing in this. Yeah. Just that the page on the right, just breaking that up in 4 panels, that room, that's That's great storytelling.
Oh, while you're showing the video pages, I'm gonna go grab something. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'll show just on here.
They do kick ass, Casper. I agree. I kind of remember seeing the Video Jack pages up on Heritage. It was probably like 6 weeks ago, and I thought I'd pick one up. I bet they didn't go for a lot. Now I'm regretting that decision or lack of memory to go back and look at. I mean, look at these. Same thing here. You know, 4 panels broken up. Could have been 1. Sing a song? I can't sing, James Siegel. If you were here, I bet you could karaoke, though. Dave,
I got a couple of things to show you. I found.
Uh-oh. What do we got?
What are you looking at here? What do we got? That's.
I just went through the Video Jack pages because they were.
Now you got more Kurt Swan. Okay.
Yeah.
So we talked about Kang. So Ivan Rice. From the Avengers.
Damn.
Story he did.
Wow. That's gorgeous.
Ivan's just an amazing artist, and like I said, I love Kang. You know.
I mean, the DPS is great, but that single page with the way he broke it up there, and that's beautiful.
This is one of the older pieces I have. This is from a Dragon Con '98. Just Stephanie Gladden did me a Lisa Simpson. Just goofy and meaningless, except just one of the early pieces of art I got. George's Genty, who I have a ton of stuff from, but that's just a little Supergirl. George is also. I did a. Oh, you know what? I'll go grab that in a minute and I'll show you. We're going off script here.
That's fine. Hey.
So I told you Quan gave me that Ramona Fraden for my wedding.
Yes.
Jose Delbo gave me this.
Shoot.
Me and my.
That's fantastic.
So pre-beard when I was about 100 pounds heavier, but that was our wedding gift from Jose. And okay, Magnola, just a random, one of those.
Yeah, those really well framed too.
So now I got another Magnola somewhere around here. Oh, there it is. I'll show you that in a minute. And then this is the one full book I have because I don't do full books. And we talked about the other day in 1985. DC did these science fiction graphic novels, right? And it was based on Ray Bradbury did Frost and Fire, and then for Robert Bloch it was Hell on Earth, and Bill Sienkiewicz did all the covers, and this is the complete book to Hell on Earth by Giffen. So I don't know anybody knows what that book is, but just Keith told me.
He said, "Oh shit!" So he must know what it is. Oh wow, damn.
So Keith told me that this was his favorite book that he'd ever worked on. Like when I asked him, I said, "What?" And I thought he was going to tell me the March Hare, because I was kicking myself because the March Hare sold for $3,200 for the complete book at one point in time. or was for sale for $39. I don't know if it's sold. And I thought it was gonna be March Hare, and I was always miserable that I didn't get it. And then he told me that this was the book. And so you want to talk about things that mean something. Like, I mean, I've got 48 pages here of a random sci-fi graphic novel that nobody remembers. I remember it because I owned it, loved it. And Marcus says, "Don't ever sell it back." I will never sell these pages. There's no way I will ever sell these pages. Like I will be living in a car
before you sell. Keza put a link in the chat too, so people who aren't familiar with it can check it out.
I don't have the cover. I don't have the Sienkiewicz cover, but that doesn't matter, right? Just you could see how much he put into this, right? Like
they're amazing. I mean, holy crap.
This is and one day I promise you I will scan every single page of this and put it on my CAF so that the world can see it, because I believe very strongly that the world should see this.
Yeah.
So
if you don't have the time, you just send me the scans. I'll figure out how to get them into your CAF gallery for you. They're amazing, and stuff like that. I mean, that's stuff that we as collectors, we want to see, because that's such a rare thing to have a complete book like that, and to have the knowledge that it was Keith's favorite work.
Just pull this off the wall. It's another Magnolia.
Oh, the Sienkiewicz covers on CAF. Well, there you go. There's somebody out there that has it.
Who has it?
Kazra put the link in the chat. Let's see.
A word balloon fell.
Let's see. Hell on Earth. Oh, Francisco Bazana. He's been on CAF for a while. Since 2005. I'll send you a link. At least then you'll know where it's at. But yeah, he's a longtime collector and probably loves it more than life.
Who has it, Bill? Sorry.
Oh, nothing. I'll send you the link to the page on CAF so you can
cool.
have it.
So I got.
He has the movie. Oh, that's right, Kazra.
Wow.
He's a big Sienkiewicz collector. The guy on CAF who has it.
Makes sense. Okay. Another Kurt page.
Nice. Last panel's great.
Love Luther. And so George Genti did my buddy Terry did a book called The Healing. It was like a graphic novel. And so what he did was he had a bunch of friends write, individual chapters of the story. Like he had the main thing, and then he wanted his buddies to write. So James Hudno wrote one of the chapters. I wrote a chapter, which is, I guess, my first published comic work. And then Georges did the art for my that chapter, and that's one of the pages.
That's solid.
I had asked Keith to do it. That was my first person to ask. And he wanted to, but he was under his contract with DC said that he couldn't do superhero work.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone other than DC. He could do non-superhero work, but because it was capes, he wasn't allowed.
That's rotten. That's I've never really talked to artists about their contracts. That's kind of interesting that you can only do non-superhero work. So they didn't prohibit you 100%, but they might as well have basically done that.
Jose Delbo did a Supergirl Choose Your Own Adventure book. These are the.
Oh my! Shoot! Oh, that's fantastic.
So, and I remember that Choose Your Own Adventure book, and then came up, and I was like, I'm going to get that. And here's one of the Delbo. Here's one of the Delbo Buck Rogers pages.
That was a gift?
Yeah.
Damn.
And you can see by the framing, it's one of those early frames before we started to really use color. And, he signed it to me, and just.
That's fantastic, Mike. Tweaky. That's right. Oh, man.
So.
We have a few more pieces to look at. Let's see here. Screen is all set up here. Let me try that again. There we go.
Yeah, just the Swan pages.
A few more Swan pages, yep.
Angel on the 8th page by Bob Oxner. And
The action page is great.
Yep, Keith Giffen page. There's the Ernie Cologne Dreadstar cover that I was telling Nick about.
Colors are great.
That's Kurt Swan, Superman backup story, and then that's a solo Avengers Hawkeye, the origin of Hawkeye.
Mm-hmm.
That's Mark Bright. This was an Avengers annual, where there was a Wasp and Pym story.
Yep. And some Humorama stuff, right?
Yeah, it's from Mad Magazine. It's oh God, Nick, help me out here. I'm dying. The artist.
Jaffe.
Yes, Al Jaffe. Jesus, my brain just.
It's getting late, Mike.
It's getting late.
You got to catch a plane in the morning.
It's all right. We got a few hours. I mean, I have a few
All
hours.
right,
Plane.
we only got a few more pieces to go through. We can get through this.
To live through it. What do you got?
I saw your dog in the background too. I think you're getting lonely.
Alex Toth, Batman for Super Friends, just kind of the layouts. Another Gustavo, early Gauss Hero and G-Bot. That's when we had it nailed, like you saw the first one, but that one, Cubert cover for X-Men of Magic.
Oh,
that was
damn.
From somebody from making from our friend Doug for an issue we had to make up for it. I think I told you that.
That's really nice.
Good night, Nick. Brett Iwan, who's the voice of Mickey Mouse, just gave that to me a couple weeks ago.
Oh, look at that.
Random comic art convention from 1970, but I collect old ephemera. I have hundreds, thousands of old program guides going back to 1939, and I collect stuff like this. Old.
That's like the one of the more well-known early cons. It's the Comic Art Con in New York.
Yep.
Wow. I don't think I've ever seen that image from it before, though. That's a nice one. Ray Morrow art.
That Supergirl's a print, but the Giant Man is by Mervyn McCoy, who's a friend. The Supergirl is Sarah Pichelli,
Oh yeah.
and that's Robert Rodriguez. It's the first piece Robbie ever gave me. Another Avengers page. That's that X-Men 194 page I was talking about that I got.
Oh yeah, damn. That's another one that walked into that store.
Another one that just walked in. You know, just Nimrod.
Lucky dog, man. That's a great page. Nimrod was a cool villain.
Oh, that's the gift that Quan gave me for my wedding. The Ramona Fraden, the wedding of Jor-El and Laura. Supergirl.
Oh, he put time into that one.
It's a Doll Man by I'm scrolling. Fran Matera. Fran
Matera.
Yeah, Fran Matera. He was a Golden Age artist. He passed a long time ago. I got that from him at a Tampa Bay con, probably in the around 2007-8-ish period, probably. Buck Rogers page that Jose Delpo gave me.
That's a great one.
Just kept giving me another one. Just kept giving me these Buck Rogers pages. I'm like, Jose, I have enough.
They're beautiful. And guess what? This is the last one. That was it.
That's it. Well, that's it. It's a good one. It's funny that the last one is from the first comics I ever read.
Wow.
And then I don't know what else.
Well,
so you were talking about what happened to the those Beatty things, right? So
yeah.
I've got a book here with some old prints, right? But
not the Beatties.
No, I don't know the Beatties, but like that Stranger Tractors print is something I got in the 90s. And you know, when you look at it, it's kind of like disintegrating. It hasn't disintegrated. It's just not aging great. You know, it's I've got that DC Universe portfolio, right? But I've had this since it came out, right? With the stuff inside with that. But just some of those old print, well, the Stranger Tractors is the one. There's another book of prints somewhere that I have, and some of the indie guys with their prints that I got in the 90s, I saved them and I kept them in, but they don't age well,
right?
Because they weren't.
Well, they're indie guys. So
yeah, but they weren't on paper, and they, it just, So, but the Beatty stuff was just on photocopy paper in the 80s on the machine he owned at home. So, what kind of quality are we?
I get it. Yeah. Well, so I got to ask, who's the big guest at the show in San Jose? I mean, what's artist wise and talent?
So, talent wise, Jeremy Renner is.
Oh, that's right. I remember reading that. That's awesome.
Is easily the headliner. We haven't had him yet. Shatner's there, D'Onofrio's there, Danny Trejo, Dolph Lundgren, Ron Perlman, Giancarlo Esposito, Matthew Lillard. It's Bobcat Goldthwait's first ever convention, so it's kind of a weird one.
How does that happen? Do you go to Bobcat, or does Bobcat come to you?
I've been trying to get Bobcat for forever. Dana Gould is doing the show because he's coming mainly as Dr. Z, which is he does a Dr. Zayas bit, and then he's best friends with Bobcat. And then Bobcat just all of a sudden decided he would do conventions after years of people bugging him. And I got lucky. And then I went to him. I went through his rep. Comic-wise, Mark Waid, Rose Besh, Ben Templesmith, Kevin Nolan, Leanna Kangas, Bob Hall, Dexter Vines, Gavin Goodry, Kevin Maguire, Merv McCoy, Jim Calafiore, Ryan Kincaid, Timothy Zahn, Brent Schoonover, Steven Silver, Corey Smith, Gene Ha. Gene Ha, another one who I think is just an unsung,
Oh, yeah. I love his work.
That top 10 stuff is just amazing. Chris Strauss, Dave Johnson, Bobby Breed, Tony Flex, Malia Ewert, Cully Hamner, Dennis Cowan, Stefan Rue, Tim Vigil, Thean Pham, Aaron Campbell, John Dell, Arthur Adams, Hannah Hillam, Joyce Chin, Michael McAllister. That's my comic lineup.
It's not too bad. James Siegel has a request, or his wife has a request. Next time you do GalaxyCon OKC, bring David Boreanaz.
It's probably never going to happen. We brought him to Austin. Didn't do as well as you would hope, and he's expensive. So I don't know that we'll have him anytime soon. Not just cost too much and didn't make it. And he's a great guest. I mean, he's a huge star. It didn't connect with that Austin audience. I just have a feeling that the OKC audience is a lot similar.
Well, James is saying that Austin's weird, and Kazra thinks that James's wife will pay extra just to have them there. So you never know. Maybe there's a way we can work this out. You can kickstart bringing him to the show. James' wife will be the biggest donor. Oh man, he's on her hall pass. Oh, great! That's nice, James.
Yeah, you don't want him there, man. I'm telling you.
No, that's competition, James.
So.
Oh man! All right, well, listen, Mike. I don't want to keep you. We've been doing it. It's 11:30 here. So it's you got work to do. But this was fun, man. And we kept it PC. We didn't swear too much.
We could have talked some smack. We didn't go there.
We could have. Yeah, there was a little smack talking going on Sunday. I didn't know if where we were going to go, but clearly you got lots of stories. So we can definitely have you back on sometime.
I'll tell you this. I can talk about the stuff that I can talk about. There's some stuff you can't talk about.
Right. No, I get it.
But we can talk about what a dipshit John Cimino is. Things like that.
Yeah, you're gonna get us into trouble.
Get me into trouble. All right, so Bill, this has been great. Thank you.
Hey, my pleasure, and best of luck with the show this weekend. Sounds like fun. Let me know how Bobcat is. I mean, if he has a good time, I'm sure he'll want to go and do another show, right?
He's agreed to do a few more. So.
Oh, so you already got him? Okay, good.
Yeah. And Marcus enjoyed my insights on Cyclops. I just think it's a strange kink. And
it's mine.
But you know what? I like him better than I like Wolverine. So there you go.
Well, that's good. Now you just pissed off half the audience, but that's
fine. Wolverine's never been my guy.
All right, he's got more. So Cyclops has more depth than Wolverine. I like that.
I don't know about that, but
all right, fine. I'm just trying to put words in your mouth so we can sign off and we leave it at that. But all right. Well, see, I'm not going to go there. But Mike, thank you. Say hey to everybody. Hope hope everything goes well, and we'll. I'm sure we'll be talking again
soon.
Tell
Peter that he made an appearance.
Yeah, let him know. We saw him in the reflection. He's going to be disappointed that he didn't get more screen time than that.
I got to call him the minute I get off with you. I got to get him on the phone because he's been texting me like it's his job.
Well, all right. Well, listen, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. It was always fun. And Mike,
thank you, Bill. Thank you,
It was a good time. All right, everybody. Have a good time. We'll, good night. We'll see you again soon.